Hello, Devlin here with you, and welcome to another edition of my pirate radio show. And I hope you're doing well. Thank you for hitting play, and thank you for joining me for a hour or so of entertainment. Well, I hope it's entertainment. I know I can talk about a lot of different things, and I will tell you right now that this is going to be a real emotional roller coaster of an episode. So if you're not in the mood for that, be prepared. Coming up in my Mondo Nostalgia section, the middle section, I am going to review my movies I saw in May. I saw 3 movies, and I will talk about all 3 of them. And then in the last half, I say goodbye to a friend, a special segment where he actually came in the studio and recorded farewell, because he's leaving for a couple of years to Britain to teach. I might as well tell you who it is. It's a friend of ours from the show, and if you're a regular here, you know him because he's done about 3 episodes or so and a couple specialty things too. Josh Obermeyer, and I'm very proud of him. He's going to teach, but he came in so we could say our final goodbyes and kind of wrap up. And boy, did it get emotional. You can barely hear me in parts. As I said, we filmed this a couple of weeks ago. Ironically, the day this airs is the day he's actually leaving to Britain. But yeah, it gets teary-eyed. Josh holds his shit together a little better, but I saw tears in his eyes. But me, I totally lose it. But it's nice. It's a nice goodbye to a friend, and I wish everybody had such closure to friendships. And yeah, I know we deal with all the talking about, we'll still contact each other on Facebook, but we also explain why it's different. Anyhow, so we got some lighthearted stuff with movie reviews. Then we say goodbye to Josh, very emotional, sad stuff. And this is going to be disturbing on many levels. I was actually thinking about changing the topic of this, because I had planned to do this topic for a while now. I knew that, I'd have the Josh goodbye, and I knew it was the end of May, so I'd have to do my May movies. And I thought, maybe this is just too much. But then I thought, you know what? No, I'm going to do it. And then, hopefully I'll do something a little more lighter in the episodes to come. Now, I want to start by saying you're going to hear some disturbing stuff in this first segment. But at the same time, I want you all to know that I am recording this in the best of moods. I'm recording this in a more of a high than a low. But I'm going to be saying some things that you're going to have a hard time hearing. And overall, I'm going to be talking about a subject that's very sensitive, but has come up a lot lately. I will be talking about a new show that I actually finally got to watch the whole thing, and I absolutely adored, and I think it was actually therapeutic to me. A show called 13 Reasons Why. A show that's really making some headway. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that later in the segment. But the reason I decided not to change it at the last minute is because last week, Chris Cornell, wonderful singer from Soundgarden and Audio Slave, and of course he's done a lot of solo stuff too, he hung himself after a concert performance. And I think every time a celebrity or somebody in the media kills themselves, we start getting a whole bunch of weird little memes and memes or little, philosophical things. And I want to address that, because suicide I've talked about before in the past. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about it. And if you're not in a good mood or in a good way, this might not be the best thing. But keep in mind, I am recording this in a positive mood, so I'm obviously going to keep this on a positive note. That being said, you're going to hear a couple of things right now in just a few seconds that you are not going to like hearing from me. And so if you're not in the mood, skip to the movie reviews. I'll keep them lighthearted. But you've been duly warned. Sometimes I want to die. Now, if you don't know me very well, you might be shocked by that. If you know me incredibly well, and that actually sent chills down your spine, then you know how close we are. I said it. Sometimes I want to die. Some days I don't want to die. Some days I want to just go out and face the world, deal with it. But there are days that I want to give up. I've had many days where I wanted to give up, and here I am still alive because somehow I made it through. Recently, I said to a friend that I actually am on this earth because of the people in my life. I've got some really great friends that keep me here, and I live for them. The only reason I have not killed myself is because they are in my life, because I cannot hurt them. And some people don't like hearing that because it says, well, if they were in here, yes, you're right, I would be dead. And I won't go into statistics, but there's a few if I lost. I would be dead sooner than that because of the fact that although I have a lot of close people in my life and a lot of friends, some of them wouldn't be enough to keep me here. So I have like maybe a couple, but as I said, I won't go, but you would be shocked because I don't want to say it because it's like I'm hanging by a thread. Now that being said, you would be surprised at the amount of people in your life, whether acquaintances to family members, who say, I sometimes want to die. It would blow your mind. Then think to yourself and say, how many times have I said that? You might be the person that says that too. But maybe you're not as vocal as me, or maybe you just kind of keep it hidden because you don't want to hurt people you love. I'm sad to say that some people that I love do know how I feel, and they know that it's their love that keeps me here. And I think they're just relieved that, they wish I was happy, but they are relieved that their love means so much to me that I would never want to lose them intentionally. I started watching a show. For those of you who don't know, I've been actually going through another hard bout the last couple weeks. Now, when I say the last couple weeks, I mean a couple weeks, because the last 2 weeks I've actually been on a high, and I hope it lasts. I'm doing everything in my power to make it last. But I started hearing about a show called 13 Reasons Why. It's based on, I don't know if it's a series, but a young adult book. And they recently made a series of it. Now, I didn't know much about it, except that the lead actor is an actor I really respect. He's a young actor named Devlin. I've seen him in a couple movies like Don't Breathe, Goosebumps, Alexander's Really Horrible, Terrible, whatever the name of that movie is. It's a good movie, horrible title, but I understand it. But I didn't know much about it. I just said, oh, I like Devlin. Maybe I'll watch it sometime when it comes out on DVD. But then I found out that schools were actually sending emails to certain parents saying, do not proceed lightly if your kids want to watch this show because it glamorizes suicide. And then it started getting my attention. I found out the story, and I won't go too much into it, but it's basically about a boy who receives tapes, and it's 13 reasons why this person killed themselves. And basically the boy has a hard time dealing with it because this is a girl he really liked, and he slowly starts finding out things that he's not sure he's ready to hear. So each episode represents a side of the tape that he's listening to right now and where it takes you. It goes back and forth. it goes back and forth from basically, you know, you see the girl going through all this before her suicide and then to the modern times. They actually do it in clever ways, as in the boy gets into a bike accident early on and he has to wear a Band-Aid right on his head. So you basically always know when he's got the Band-Aid on, we're in modern times, or if he has a scar. I think it was actually clever because it does go back and forth so many times. I didn't know if this was the right thing to watch. I didn't know if I should watch it because of how I was feeling again. And quite frankly, I didn't know if this was a good thing. But then I decided I needed to see this show. And I actually started watching it. And I told a couple people I was watching it. And a couple of people who had seen the show just kind of like hesitantly said, okay, do you relate to the boy or do you relate to the girl? And, you know, halfway, I have to say that I related mostly to the boy. But as it went on, I still stayed true to the boy until the final episode. And then I was frightened by how much I did find myself in the girl's shoes many times. And yeah, it even bothered me that in the last episode she actually puts on nail polish that was similar to the nail polish I was wearing at the time that I watched the episode. It was like this blue, and it kind of blew my mind because then I realized that she actually used that same color to paint all the tape she made with 1, 2, 3, and it was in that color, and I didn't notice it until that, and then it was it's actually featured quite heavily in the final episode. I don't know. I understand why people think this glamorizes suicide, because in some ways she kind of gets her revenge, but in other ways, I don't see it as necessarily a revenge plot. I see it more as a person who's just getting all her stuff out before she ends it all, which I have to say I understand that, because when I tried to kill myself when I was 24 years old, I made a tape and I made sure I said goodbyes to various people before I went. And yeah, so I totally get that. I'm all about closure, and I definitely can tell you if I ever did commit suicide, people would know about it, because I'm not the kind that would just leave people questioning it. It's sad to say that although some people know that I would not kill myself, I think some people would be one of those people that if they heard the next day that, you know, Devlin Bishop was dead and he killed himself, they'd probably say, yeah, I guess we saw that coming. But I think a lot of people know me like, yeah, no, I don't think he would do it, though. But there would definitely be a note. There would definitely be something. So I understood this 13 Reasons Why. As much as I think that some people say it glamorizes it, I look to the positive of it. I've actually found myself healing from it. I learned a lot about myself during this, both sides. The one thinking about it and the one doing it. The reason why is because the boy starts having thoughts of it too. What gives me hope in this is that it actually showed sides of me that I've seen. There's actually an episode where he is forced to climb up a mountain, and that's something I did. I had a friend that kind of made me go up a mountain, and it's almost the same steepness. Not as high, but the steepness, and that was really mind-blowing to me. So I was relating in all ways with the boy dealing with the suicide and the girl who eventually would go on to do it. What I liked about this is that it never really just points fingers. And I think the people that see that it just points fingers is, I think that's the one of people that are saying that it glamorizes, because it just basically says you were responsible, you were responsible. Yes, there are a lot of responsible things, but we don't know everybody's story. But what I like about this show is not only did it point fingers at the people who did her wrong, the people that betrayed her, the people that did really horrible things to her. What this also did was it also reminded us that she was going through a lot of mental stuff herself, and they don't hold back on that. There are times she handles situations badly, and they basically show that. And the third thing they show is the people that don't do anything, that they're just as responsible, but they don't do it in a way that just says, oh, you should have been there. They actually explain that there are some people that just don't know how to talk to people. Or just because they chose a moment where they're like, I'm not ready to say those words to you. It shows how those instincts can have an impact on people, but they don't ever hold it like, you could have at least tried or something. Like, it was like, it basically just tells people that they need to talk and open up. If things are going badly for you, talk about it. Find somebody you can trust. Don't be afraid to tell your emotions. Take risks. Don't worry like, oh my God, my heart's going to break if I say those words. Just say those things to people. They might want to hear them. Yes, there's a chance that they might not, but at the same time, you might actually be helping someone. I found myself healing, and it also told me about how people react. While we're finding out the nasty people in the school, we're also finding out that some of the nasty people are going through their own shit, and they might see things in a different way. Not all the evil characters in this are evil, and not all the good people in this are good. And this show helped me realize to try to look at things from other people's eyes. When I always talk about lies and untruths, I now try to look at it as, well, they probably don't mean it to be an untruth. They maybe they really truly mean they want that. It's just they don't know it's never going to happen. So I'm trying to give people more of a benefit of the doubt. So for me, the show is a healing thing. Now, I'm not saying that's going to heal you. I'm not going to say it helps you. I wanted to find something in this, but as I said, I didn't know by the end of it if I'd want to hurt myself, because I thought, boy, maybe I shouldn't watch this. If I'm in a dark place, this just might make me want to. The thing that gives me some even more hope on this is that I think people are talking about it. And as much as people say the show glamorizes it, people are actually talking about suicide. And not just teens, but older people who, I've met people who are married with kids that have what looks like amazing lives, and they have told me that they have thoughts of killing themselves. I have people that look like they're the happiest people in the world, and they look like they want to kill themselves. The important thing is to keep the conversation going. And it's great when you say things like, I'm always here if you want to talk to me. There are times that you need to go talk to them. You have to go by a case by case. Everything isn't so easy. There are times that are just absolutely crucial, that if you see people withdrawing, like they go through all the symptoms. They don't just go through it with her. And I should give her a name. The actress who plays this haunting character is Catherine Langford, and she is just incredible. Both leads in this, and pretty much the whole cast is incredible. But anyhow, they give lots of ways where you can see, when he starts getting into the tapes, he starts going through some stuff that is known things for people withdrawing from the world. And sometimes when you see this, you can't just tell them, come and talk to me, because a lot of suicidal people don't want to come and talk to you. Some people may have been, and you shouldn't look at crying out as a bad thing. Like, if somebody even like hints the words that they want to kill themselves, take it seriously, because one day they just might, you know? I blatantly tell people I'm never going to kill myself because I'm kind of got a bit of an ego, as in, one, I don't want people to mourn for me. I don't care about like the moral majority, but I mean, there's a certain few people I would not want to leave behind. But two, I've got a bit of an ego. I'm always worried, what the hell am I going to miss the next day? So I found that 13 Reasons Why was actually therapeutic for me. Another thing that's positive is I've heard recently in the Hamilton area, since the show aired, a lot of teens have been calling teen suicide lines and reaching out. And as I said, you got to remember, there are times when maybe people are reaching out to you, but they can't say the words. So if they have a conversation with you that's kind of odd, you might have to reach back. Don't expect that they're going to come back, because a lot of suicidal people don't want to, they understand you're busy. They understand that you have a lot going on. But that doesn't mean sometimes you have to go after them. But the fact that I hear that suicide lines are getting busier, there's a side of me that saddens me. But at the next thing, it makes me hopeful that people are talking about it, and then they will talk themselves out of it. Because honestly, dialogue is certainly a big part of what helps. See, sadly, when I get suicidal, I sometimes just want to hear people talk to me. But the sad thing is because a lot of times the people I want to talk to me won't. They actually withdraw from me, Family members I will not hear of when I'm going through a bad time whatsoever. And that kind of saddens me a bit. And that's why I'm such a big person on the fact that, family isn't about blood. Because if I had to rely on that family, I'd be dead right now. And I won't lie to you. After I watched the show, I kind of realized that in some ways, me doing these podcasts were like these tapes. I don't sit here and blame everybody for, who did it, or I wouldn't do that. But if something were to happen to me, people could listen to these tapes and they might get a better understanding of where my head was at, or maybe not at all. But in some ways, I've left a legacy behind, because these will probably stay on the internet and on YouTube and, wherever else they're located. They're located on several things. So this is kind of my tapes of 13 Reasons Why. I like the way the show wrapped up. It kind of left some unanswered questions, but most of them were answered. I hear there's a second season. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm really not sure how they're going to deal with it. I'm not saying you watching 13 Reasons Why is going to save your life. I'm going to just say, for me, I learned a lot about myself and learned a lot about how I need to deal with this time forward. And since I finished watching it, and even while I was watching it, I was already seeing me doing things differently, so I don't wind up feeling like the girl in this things that I needed to do to move forward. So for that, I thank this show for healing me. And, I'd say give it a chance, but don't expect miracles. I'm certainly not going to advocate using movies and TVs to solve your problems, because sometimes the problems are just too big. What makes me smile a little bit is knowing that I found a healing thing through these shows. Even listening to songs on the soundtrack tells me that maybe I'm not in such a dire spot that I thought I was. And maybe I'm ready to pull myself out of that hole. Since I've fallen a couple times in that hole, I can only hope. But, hey, if I continue to feel this way, then it's all good. I'm going to take a short break, and then I'm going to be back with the movies I saw this May. I saw 3 of them, and I'm going to have reviews of all 3 of them when I come back. Welcome back, and we're here with you on Devlin's Pirate Radio Show. We're up to our Mondo Nostalgia part, and although this isn't really nostalgic, I guess some parts of it could be considered, because they all have stuff to do with the past. But this is where I usually do my light entertainment part, and especially on my solo ones. And because we're at the end of May, I'm going to take a look at 3 movies I saw in the month of May. And the summer movie season is in full swing, so I got to see 3 big movies that hit theaters, and we're going to start with one that probably will be the biggest movie of the summer, although there is one movie that could top it. It's a little movie called Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. A couple years ago, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 came. I didn't know much about it, but because it was with the Marvel Shared Universe, I decided I have to check it out, and it wound up probably becoming one of my all-time favorite movies. I just loved the action. I loved the heartwarmingness of it. I loved the comedy in it, and I loved the 5 main characters that made up the Guardians. Chris Pratt's Star-Lord, and Dave Bautista's Drax, Zoe Santana, I might have got that wrong, but Gamora, and Vin Diesel's Groot, and Bradley Cooper is the voice of Rocket Raccoon. I love this movie. I fell madly in love with it. I saw it 5 times at the theater, and I've been waiting patiently for the second one. But I went into it like, okay, this has got a lot to live up to. This was not only a big hit for other people, but for me, this was like a movie that I think is up in my top movies of all time now. It just makes me smile whenever I think of it in so many ways. And so basically, I was thinking to myself, like, this has got a lot to live up to. So when I went into the movie, I thought to myself, boy, can any movie top this? Well, the answer to that is simply no. It doesn't top the original movie, but in my opinion, it actually comes really close. Like, for how high the bar was set for me for the first one, I am shocked at how well this movie came in. And they had so much more to do. Like, you know, they had to do a bigger story. They had to do a bigger soundtrack. They had to, you know, come up with, like, new aspects of relationship, character development, and they did all that. In fact, the one area that I actually thought was daring that they cut back on is on the action, because there is not a lot of action sequences in this movie. And I love that they decided character development, story. I think, you know, the fact that they thought, you know, relationship aspects in this, getting the humor right, those heartwarming things, like, almost, I think the heartwarming stuff actually tops the original in some ways. And when I look back at it, I think, you know, the thing that it cut back on was action. That's pretty daring, because usually when we go to an action movie, what we want is more action. And from what I've heard, mostly people, I've heard a couple of negative reviews, but most of the reviews have been, it's enjoyable, it's entertaining. I like it. I have not seen it 5 times yet. I do hope to see it one more time in theaters, but whether that happens or not, I'm not sure. But what I do know for sure is that I really enjoyed it. I liked so much of the subplots. Chris Pratt's, you know, finds his father in the form of Kurt Russell. I won't spoil too much in it, but this is all stuff that was seen in trailers and stuff. And, you know, he basically, you know, gets to know a chance to know his father. And then he's reunited with some people like Yondu, and Nebula is back, you know, Gamora's sister. There's a lot of emphasis on family in this, and they really drive it home. There's some pacing issues, I have to agree, in the movie. They actually sometimes have three really like heartfelt scenes in a row, and it almost seems too much. The other one, the original Guardians, seemed to pace it a bit better to throw in like something humorous and then heartwarming and then action. But there's times that they've picked three emotionally rough times, which kind of slows down the movie a bit. And not a lot. I love this movie, but if you're a fan of just strictly action, you might come out of it a little disappointed because there isn't a lot of that. Baby Groot is very cute. Um, yeah, he's wonderful. I actually found myself really loving Yondu in this one, and I never thought I would because he's basically, kind of a humorous brute in the first one, but they actually developed that character surprisingly well, and the Star-Lord Yondu stuff is just killer without giving away too much stuff. It's just you get to know about their relationship a little more. And also Gamora and Nebula. In the first movie, you hear a little bit about the fact that they're half sisters and they had competitions between each other, but they actually go into a little bit more in depth of it, and you start getting why Nebula is so emotionally fucked up. And I think the fact that they took the characters and decided they were more important than the action sequences, I think was brave, bold, and I think they pulled it off. As I said, if you're a fan of just strictly action, you might not love this movie as much as me. But I'm glad James Gunn, the director and writer, is going to be coming back for the third one. He's got a grasp of these characters. People love these characters. People are still going out to see this movie. And if you haven't, check it out. It might be around for a little bit, but as more movies come into the theaters, even if they're making a lot of money, they're going to have to move them out. And it's definitely worth to see on the big screen. It's just a great movie that comes very close to the original in my eyes. I would probably give this movie, I'd say about an 8 out of 10, where I think the original one was 10 out of 10 for me. So I think an 8 is pretty solid, and we'll go with that. I don't really like putting numbers on it, but I know some people say, oh, it's better when you put numbers on it because then we can tell. But, I could see a movie 3 different times, and every time I came out of it, it might have a different number if I liked it more or didn't like it as much. But right now, we're hitting about an 8 out of 10. The next movie I went to go see was Guy Ritchie's King Arthur, The Legend of the Sword, with Charlie Hunnam and other people that are failing to remembering right now. But anyhow, this is Guy Ritchie's take on the legend of King Arthur, and I've been very hit and miss with Guy Ritchie. I liked some of his earlier stuff, like Snatch, and I think he did Two Guns on a Smoking Barrel or something like that. Anyhow, but when he started going to bigger films like the Sherlock Holmes movies, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and King Arthur, this movie fits basically how I felt about those big screen adaptations. He is more style than substance. He really does have his own style. I really liked the first Sherlock Holmes a lot more than the second. But at the end of the day, I really wish there was more character development in it, even though I think Sherlock, he came the closest to developing his characters than any of these movies. And King Arthur fits that bill perfectly, because this movie has some really neat looks. It's a very weird movie for a Guy Ritchie movie because of his style is so unusually, like with the cuts and just the way he delivers a movie. It almost kind of makes... I can understand why so many people do not like this movie. I've heard a lot of people, some people have enjoyed it, some people really hate it. And I can see why, because they modernized it, but not in the way like A Knight's Tale modernized it with music and stuff like that. Because they still kind of keep the old kind of feel of it. This has just got quick cuts, it's got some outrageousness in it, some dream sequences that are just way out there. The humor doesn't necessarily always fit. In fact, I think it fails more times than it does. I found myself interested. I found myself not invested in the characters, but again, every Guy Ritchie movie I've seen, I've always come out saying it looked fabulous, but I feel he didn't take time getting to know the characters. He didn't take time for us to care about the characters. And that's a real problem when you're going to see a movie, because I'm all about storyline, yes, but I like well-developed characters, you know. I've always said, and I might be wrong, but this is just my opinion, you could have a movie of interesting characters, and if there's no story, it'd still be entertaining. But if you have a story that's got an interesting story, but the characters are just not who you care about, then who cares? And so, you know, here everybody looks okay, everything looks good, but as I said, the comedy kind of fails. Charlie Hunnam is fine. He's having a real hard time of it in the movie world. I know Pacific Rim I enjoyed, but I didn't think he really stole the show. And he looks like he should have the charisma, because I've watched all of Sons of Anarchy, and he is just amazing on that show. He carries that show. He's got range as an actor. He commands that show. You know he's the one you need to follow. But I find he gets lost in these big movies. Pacific Rim, again, more visually stunning than character developed. And this guy, Richie King Arthur, I understand why people don't like it. It's not for everyone. But I could see how this is blatantly offensive to everyone. That being said, I actually kind of enjoyed it. I think there were some moments that were truly kind of neat and fun to watch. But it was forgettable. Like, a week after I saw it, I couldn't tell you much. I remember Charlie Hunnam's abs. He looks incredible in this movie, but I can't remember much about his character and stuff. And for an exciting story like King Arthur, that should be a story you remember. But this is a forgettable movie. I can see why people are avoiding it at all costs. Looks like it could be a major flop for Guy Ritchie, so it'll be interesting to see how this affects his career. I hope Charlie Hunnam isn't affected by it, because of the fact that I still think he has got an actor in him, and I still think he can make the jump from TV to movies. But if not, hey, get into another great TV series. Sons of Anarchy was a great choice for you. My final movie I saw was Alien Covenant. I forgot how many they've done in the series. I guess there were 4 in the original series, and then the prequels, they had Prometheus. If you don't count those Alien versus Predator movies, I think there was 2 of them, and I try not to count them. Although I didn't see one because the first one was just so bad. I'm a huge fan of Alien and Aliens. I actually am one of the few people who actually liked Alien 3 as well. I liked them because they were all 3 about the same topic, but they all were very different movies. When I went to see Prometheus, I absolutely hated it. Visually, it looked great, but I was not interested in any of the characters. I thought some of the characters absolutely miscast. I just couldn't believe the amount of mistakes or stupidity that supposedly smart people were doing. You know, there's scientists there that are like, just, I'm going to take my helmet off. What the hell? You know, just constantly stupid stuff, and I couldn't buy into that. And I did not even, enjoy the lead actress at all. So I was kind of relieved when I heard she wasn't going to be in the next follow-up to Prometheus, which is Alien Covenant, which continues Ridley Scott's, I don't know how many he's planning to do. I think he's up to 3 or 4 prequels to get us to the original Alien. As I'm starting to see prequels, I'm starting to think I don't need to get to the original Alien. What I like about Alien is it's quite simple. It's man versus a strange alien beast. And the fact that Alien is such a wonderfully perfect movie and kind of deals with real people, interesting characters, and the fact that it plays on your psychological thing by the way it's filmed, Alien is wonderful. But as I get these prequels that try to explain their background, nothing will touch those original movies. But I don't need these movies. Alien Covenant, for me, was slightly better than Prometheus. But it's still a train wreck of a movie. And the thing that bothers me the most is that these two movies, Prometheus and Alien Covenant, are both directed by Ridley Scott, the man who gave us the original one. If there's one person who should know what he's going for, it's Ridley Scott. Truth be told, he was supposed to do an Alien prequel story with Prometheus, but I honestly think he got lost on another story that he got caught up on the meaning of life and religion and stuff, and I think Prometheus, he sold it as an Alien prequel, but it's so much not that I think it lost a lot of people. And I think that's why the numbers of this Alien isn't doing quite as well as ones from the past, because I think Prometheus scared a lot of people away. Now, this is blatantly an Alien movie. This has, the xenomorphs in it. It's got that. I went into it very excited because somebody told me that it was very much like the original Alien at the beginning and then moves into the excitement and action that was the James Cameron Aliens. I got none of that while I was seeing here. Yes, there's some homages to the original films, but honestly, I didn't get any of the original Alien feel in this. I felt that they took their time with slow scenes, but because the characters are just so generic, like, this is basically about a spaceship that's going to a planet, and they're, going to colonize it. And, the whole group are couples. The fact that I still, at the end of the movie, didn't know which couples were together, I don't know, because the characters are so generic. They spend so much time developing the Michael Fassbender character. And this is a minor spoiler here, but he plays a dual role in this movie, and that's all I'll say. And he gets a lot of screen time because he plays two characters. He's very good at it, but I think Michael Fassbender is just that good. But a lot of the dialogue and stuff is so horrible that he's saying. Now, Alien Covenant looks nice. It looks great. Ridley Scott does know how to shoot a movie. But again, there is absolutely no character development. Catherine Waterston, who's kind of the Ellen Ripley of this movie, again, I'm failed by this character. She doesn't have the chemistry. She doesn't have the development. So I feel badly for the actress because she probably is a very good actress. But once again, I'm left with nothing. And then there's all these other characters that people I've heard raving about, like Danny McBride. And I don't see this character development. He has one moment where he gets to mourn somebody. I won't say who. But it's not like it's Laurence Olivier quality acting. It's just, okay, he's fine in it. I would have loved to see these characters develop. People go see these teen, slasher flicks and say, oh, I don't like them because they're not developed. And then they go see this and rave about it. When I think I've seen teen flicks that are developed characters more. They're literally this is the guy that wears the hat. This is the one who believes, has faith, but doesn't really have faith in himself. They're all reduced to, this is the black guy with the dog tags. This is the woman who's kind of hot and stuff. But again, it plays out like a bad horror movie, and these should be on the edge of your seats. Now, given that, there are a couple of jump moments that I did jump for. And if you like gore, there's a lot of gore, but honestly, the alien sequences are so small that they're not even that memorable when you put it in the aspect of it. I was really disappointed in this movie. I was with a friend who's a big Alien fan. They seemed to like it a lot, but they understood where I was coming from. I'm happy they liked it because, they are the bigger fans than I am. Although Alien is my favorite movie of 1979. I think we could have learned a lot from that style. But now that we're trying to develop them and they've got this whole backstory, I just like, this is not the Alien series I want to see. Not by any means. So, yeah, going back, I'd give King Arthur maybe a 5 out of 10. And I'm going to have to sadly give Alien Covenant a 4 out of 10. Because I don't, this is not like me, but I wouldn't care if I ever saw this movie again, because I might give it a chance, but there's just so much in it that I just, the fact that they spent more time on a scene where Michael Fassbender teaches himself to play, a recorder or a flute, more time than actually developing any of the secondary characters really just burns my biscuits. So, yeah, I'm hoping June is a much better thing because, yeah, I saw some mediocre films here. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just getting old and crotchety, but who knows. Anyhow, if you're a regular here, you know Josh Obermeyer. He's been on the show several times. I was so lucky to meet him, and he's been a good friend over the years. I'm so proud of him. He's just got a job to go to Europe, and I asked him if he'd come in and do one last segment to say it goodbye. I don't know if I can listen to this again right away because I am going to be crying again. I've cried on this show before, but nothing like you've heard me. So be warned. It's a sad thing, but again, I think it's optimistic. It's nice. Just two friends actually sharing emotions, forgetting that the recorder's on. And I'm glad we got to do it, and I think he is too. Anyhow, that's coming up right after this. Welcome back, and I am not alone, which is weird because I don't usually have co-hosts show up at the end of a show, but I brought somebody in because they are going to be leaving us soon. And for you regulars, all 17 of you, you know this guy because he's been on, I think we just talked about it, 2 shows. He did a show with another co-host, a wonderful Christmas show, and I'm sure I mentioned him many times before. I think he was even on the repeat show when we did the Top XTs-rama. I think he got the first repeat in. So, yeah, he's following his dream, and he's becoming a teacher, and he is going overseas, but I'm going to let him tell you all the details on that. I'm very proud of him. I am sad to see him go, and there will be tears. I'm holding it back really damn good because I've been crying all day. But let's meet him. I'm talking, of course, about Josh Obermeyer.
Hello, it's me. For the last time for a while, I guess. Thank you for having me back for one last little visit with everybody.
I don't know why. Like, we talked about, Josh and I think we've mentioned many times, because we've talked about cult movies here, is that we get together for movie nights. And we had to have one final movie night. Josh still doesn't know what we're watching. He may have some ideas.
It's a surprise that you told me.
Do you have ideas, though? Do you have ideas?
Hopefully it's something delightful, as it always is.
He's still not going to find out because I'm going to save it till after. So when we finally found a night, I asked if you would be okay to do a final segment. I decided only a segment because I don't think I could get through a full episode. It would be, yeah. So I hope you don't mind that you were designated to a.
Hey, it's all good. We'll make every minute count.
Well, then if we do get reunited, then we can do a full podcast again.
When we'll catch up.
Old, when I'm old and gray and you come back.
Hopefully I don't have a British accent.
So tell us, before we get to me holding my shit together, tell us exactly what's going, or what you can tell us.
Okay.
Because it's top secret.
Top secret. So I am leaving to go teach for at least 1.5 to 2 years overseas in the UK. So I'll be doing a full-time position there. So not supply work, but actually like my own classroom. And I'm leaving shortly at the end of the month to around May 25th. I hop on a jet plane, and who knows when I'll be back again.
Now you almost did the lyrics to that song.
I almost did the John Denver.
Yes.
Every time I hear that song now, I'm like, no, not yet. It's not time.
Now we're recording this a couple weeks ahead of time, but because of other shows I already have planned, I just told Josh that I did the math. This is actually airing on the day he leaves.
This is airing when I'm in the air.
Yes. You think you'll listen to the show every once in a while? Not necessarily your shows, but if you miss my voice, you can always put on YouTube.
I'll definitely throw one up every once in a while, just kind of see what's going on, follow the background, and see what other co-hosts you bring in and what new projects you have. Because if you have any more monologue shows coming up, I wanna hear rumors of those.
Well, you know I have ones coming up. Now, are you gonna do improv while you're over there? Are you gonna try, or?
That's a complicated area where I want to try it, but I don't know if I'm legally allowed to try it. That's one of the things. Like, I know in Canada, when you become a teacher, it becomes very, very tricky what you can and can't do once you become certified. Yeah, once you get your certification going, you're held to a much higher standard. So doing things like comedy and other stuff becomes very tricky once you're an employee of a board here, because of the whole Education Act thing. Whether that transports overseas, I don't know yet.
Okay.
So part of me really does want to do it and keep doing it.
But it depends.
It depends on how public it is when I do it, or it's just there's like a lot of factors that might not make it as accessible as it was when I was younger and as a student.
So some of the things we talked about on this show were cult movies, having a dirty mind, and now you're being held in high standards. What's that feel like? Is that hard to walk the line?
It's hard to walk the line. Is that I must say, like, when I'm on the show, I definitely am playing and portraying a slight characterization of myself, where there is genuine stuff there, but most of the stuff is for entertainment purposes. I'm keeping up to date, but it's not a reflection of my true nature and human being. I'm saying this just so that if somebody finds later in the line, it's like, oh, Mr. O said this, and so it's like, this is Mr. O as a character before he's been certified.
Yes. And
it's not to be taken seriously. This is just good fun and a jest.
Oh, they got to know you had a life beforehand.
They, as a realistic human logical person, yes. In the eyes of the law, not so much.
I did a porn movie once with a Italian guy who became a teacher, and it was a comedic porn movie with a friend, Colette Kendall, and there was a hot Italian guy that I got to roll in bed with, and he became a teacher, and he asked, could you please change my name on that, because he was now certified and stuff, so Colette had to change it, so just... I'm familiar with these, so if we ever had a porn tape out there, I will make sure it's good and hidden.
I imagine that he legally changed his name to Manicotti. Or Bruschetta Feta was one that we think often of in terms of a particular genre.
Now, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here.
Ooh.
One thing, I actually have talked about you in one of the episodes. I didn't name names. But people who listen to that episode will know, it was Josh you were talking about. It was in an episode called Untruths. Now, one thing I have noticed is that whenever, and it's not just me, I know when we did How We First Met, and you were found out around that time.
Yeah.
And people were talking to you. Every once in a while, I heard you talking to them. And I noticed, and I wanted to know if this was because I think Josh is calculated, but we're going to find out now. I made a comment that one of the things I respected that you did was when people would say, oh, but you'll be back, you never committed to that. You would always come up with something else. I never heard you hear the words, I'll be back one day. In fact, when I mentioned, because Josh told me, he was probably surprised by my response, because I said it was a good run, but it's the end. I'm handling this like the end. And you didn't try to console me by saying, this is temporary, I'm gonna be back. You actually said, I'll never forget you. Then I started listening and said, you're not saying you're not coming back, but I love that you're not committing to anything. Do you know you're doing this, or is this just...
I think it's more that I know that I don't know what 2 years is going to be like.
Right.
Because I'm going in kind of with an open mind, and I don't want to say like a clean slate, so to speak, but that in those 2 years, a whole bunch of stuff can happen. I look at the last 2 years of my life and see how much has happened. That when I get over there, maybe I love the school I'm teaching at, and I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
I could get involved with somebody who's keeping me over there. I could also pick up a job once I leave that school somewhere else in the world. So there's lots of things that I am very much aware of that could happen.
Do you know that you're doing this, that you're not committing to anything?
I do, yeah.
Because I really respect that, because and to prove that I didn't speak of you ill will, I talked about how as I get older, the one part that I'm having a hard time dealing with is people constantly tell you untruths. And my head now tells me, my heart will say, oh, that's beautiful, they said that. And then I hear, they're just saying that. That's words. But with you, I'm watching what you do, and I'm like, no, he's not committing to anything, and I really respect that. And, yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
And part of my mind is that as much as at the end of 2 years, say, I would love to come back to Hamilton, I don't know what this year's going to be like in 2 years. I don't even know if I'll be practically able to afford to come back to Hamilton in the 2 years, depending on what things are like, or the economy is like, or where my family is, or all this stuff there. That I've just come to the terms that everything's so in flux now that even if I did come back to Hamilton, it wouldn't be the Hamilton that I left, so to speak. Because realizing even now, looking at my friend group that are around my age, only 2 of them are left in Hamilton, and even at the end of this year, I don't know if both of them will still be here when I come back. So I'm very much appreciating the well wishes, but I don't want to get anybody's hopes up, and I don't want to get my own hopes up at the same time too. Because if I go over there and for some reason I hate it and I can't wait to come home or come back, I have to kind of realize that if I do come back, everything is still going to be different and it's not going to be the same. So I'm definitely looking at it as a new chapter type of thing, and not as an interlude, so to speak, where it's I'm going to take a year and a half, 2 years to kind of pause my life, do this, and then come back and pick up where I left off, because I don't know where I'm going. I'm still kind of wiggly grinding, so it's...
Hey, I'm heading to 50, and I don't know where I'm headed. Were you surprised that I told you I had to handle it like it's the end?
I'm not surprised. That's not in a bad way. It's just that
I want your honest thing here.
It's...
You know me.
I know you. It's a very, very healthy and realistic thing. Is that to have kind of, I don't want to use the word closure, but kind of closure. Just that it's not that hope of oh, one day he will be back, he'll be back. I may, but it's I like to make promises that I know I can keep. And at the end of these 2 years, it's one I don't want to let down either friends or family at the end of those 2 years, being oh, I'll be back, don't worry, we'll pick up where we left off when I go, but I don't know who I'll be at the end of those 2 years.
Don't know who the people you're leaving behind will be.
Yeah, it's going to be, there's a lot of stuff that's in the air with this one, so it's
a huge step, and I commend you for it. I could not do it, but I do commend you for doing it.
And it's been an emotionally exhausting month and a half and 2 months, because anytime you get together with friends or family, it's very much this is possibly the last time I'll get to see you, at least for a while, if not possibly ever, depending on where
you
life
never
goes.
know.
Yeah.
We just lost a mutual friend.
Yeah.
I thought I'd see her next week, and she lives in Hamilton.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to deal with this as a finale, And that's kind of why I wanted to do the podcast, why I've chosen the movie that I've chosen. And I'm starting to lose it. But we knew that, so. What was I gonna say? Now you people out there are probably thinking, Devlin, and I've had a lot of people who I've talked about. You're leaving is huge for me. Sorry, trying to get my shit together. Stop looking so cute. What I'm trying to say is, people out there are probably listening, but we live in an era of social media. We can call, we can see Facebook. If you blog, you can blog. You can listen to my podcast. It's not final. That's what people are telling me. But you know what? Yes, it's possible on the 26th, Josh could email me and tell me I made it safely, everything's good. But you know what? It's not the same. You now become words on a screen. And that's why I have to finalize it, because I'm not saying I'm not going to talk to you on Facebook. I know a lot of people who get rid of Facebook. I was happy to hear that you're keeping it. But it's not the same as when we watch movies together, when we laugh together. LOL just doesn't cut it. Because we've had some really good laughs. Times when we were just at the staircase and you would just come up and just touch me. That's not going to happen. Maybe in the future. But I like that it's closing now. Sorry, I don't mean to make you cry. But that's what I'm telling people. People always tell each other, but it's still going to be the same. But it's not. It's officially different. But yes, there could be a new chapter. I could show up in your life again. You could show up in mine. Who knows? I could be hit by a car on the 26th and like, wow, what a shock. But anyhow, so that's why I have to close things, and that's why tonight I'm handling it like this could be the last time we see each other. This is great for ratings. I might get 18 people for this. Trying to get it back around at your farewell party, which is weird that I've seen you a couple times now since your farewell party, even accidentally at a place I don't go regularly, and Josh probably doesn't go regularly. We met at the Devil's Punch Bowl.
Yep.
I'm literally like freaking out because Damien's hanging on the side of the damn cliff taking pictures, and then all of a sudden, isn't that Josh? And I'm like, holy fuck, it is. I just saw him 2 days ago. Anyhow, kind of keeping it light. At your farewell party, you made a beautiful speech, and I don't expect you to recreate it because it was all improv. But I liked what you said of the piece of, like people say, do you want a piece of me? Like it's a bad thing. Like you're coming after, but you said eloquently, do you remember exactly what you said, sort of?
Well, yeah, it's that.
I would rather you say it because it makes sense. If I say it, it's just me.
But everybody always says, like, oh, you want a piece of me, in a negative way. But you can always turn that against them and say, when you talk, you hug, you interact, you hang out, you're giving somebody your time, which is also in essence a piece of you. And it's not a negative way; it's a positive way. It's here. Take this memory of me. Take this word. Take this laugh. Yeah, it's just a shared experience that you can now kind of carry with you forever. So it's a positive piece rather than a negative piece.
Yeah, I love it. It's a nice way of doing it. Josh said he is going to take pieces of us with him, and we replace those pieces with him. And you let people talk, and your father said some wonderful things. A lot of people said some wonderful things. I couldn't go up. And I told you why, and Josh knows me so well. I have no problem crying in public, but it took me everything to go to that party. I actually avoided it, and then my head told me I'm going for Josh, not me. This isn't about me. Normally is. Just keep that in mind. But I did. But you should see, I took my time getting ready. I'm usually one of the first people at a party. Took my time getting ready. I missed several connection buses to get myself there. and that's no word of a lie, but I just want to say what I will miss about you. I won't look at you. No. The things I'll miss about you is your laugh. We laughed a lot together. I'm glad we have podcasts that I can re-listen to and have great memories. I will miss our sense of humor, because as much as I have a lot of friends with dirty minds, I never had to worry about what I said to you or I did to you. I will miss those moments where we would just be hanging out, just holding each other at the staircase, and it was a place that nobody cared. It was just nobody cared. And what I'll miss most about you, besides like your teaching, all the wonderful things you've done, but you went through a bad time, and you still came and hung out with me, and we talked a lot about life and everything, and you were so vulnerable. And I never saw that side of Josh before, because as you said, you kind of had a little bit of a character, and that was the first time I said, I've never seen Josh like this. I've never seen Josh at such a low point, and I think I loved you more because you trusted me, and you let yourself be me. And so I wanted to let you know just some of the things I will miss, and you will be thought of often. You know, we still got a couple of hours together with me. Anyhow, we're probably coming up to the end here. Yeah, pretty close. So you have got the table. I will shut up. Say what you have to do. To anybody out there, you probably have a couple people who know you, and whatever you want to say, I'll open up. I'll shut up now.
Well, for those listening, keep listening, because there is no man who knows culture and knows joy more than this man. So share in that joy. Share in him. Just share.
That's lovely. I am very proud of you. You know, I hope you get everything you dream of. I do hope our paths cross again. And I know, even though if we do talk on Facebook, I still will talk to you genuinely, as always. And, yeah, this chapter is closing for us, but it's kind of like subplots during the social media era, we'll call that. And then if the chapter opens again, we'll deal with that. And if it doesn't, well, you have affected my life. So thank you for that.
Affected mine too.
We are going to go watch a crappy movie now.
It's going to be an amazing movie.
Yeah, I'll cry through that too. I won't reveal it here. People want to know, they can ask me, what movie did you watch? And then I'll know you listened to my show. So we're going to leave it on a cliffhanger. But I have to go because I'm a mess, and I got a couple of hours with this man, and no offense, but I want him all to myself. Have a great night, and I will talk to you all very, very soon.